Hi, I'm Elena Fox, and I'm at the place where pleasure has no shame. I'm at the legendary M4 Social Club, and I'm about to ask questions what you're afraid to ask. So, Matt, first of all, please introduce yourself for people who don't know you. Tell who you are, what are you doing here, and...
So I'm Matt, I'm the owner of Club M4, and I've been here since 2008, and with my business partner who originally opened the club, and I came to the club as a patron and then offered to help, and I've been an owner ever since.
I know that you have an interesting story being involved in this club, but before we discuss that, I would like to ask, to be in this life, to be in this lifestyle, how you get so open-minded? What brings you to this lifestyle? Can I ask you this? It's kind of personally, but I hope...
Well, there's two different questions there. So if I start with what brought me to this lifestyle is we were moving from Ottawa to Toronto, and me and my wife spent a lot of time in the car because she was still studying out in Ottawa, and it would just, you have those conversations. We were 3-4 years married at the time, and we were talking about, what are the grounds for divorce? And she told me that if I ever cheated on her, she would leave me. She'd been cheated on before, not great relationships in the past. And I kind of put out there, I was like, well, if you cheat on me at some point in time, I'd want to figure out why and what happened, and I don't want to, resolve things and try to find a way to fix it. And then I added the smartest thing I've ever said in my life. And I said, as a matter of fact, if you just want to have sex with somebody else, you could just ask. And she said, what? Why? And so she kind of left it at that. But then, of course, the end of the weekend or the next week or whatever it was, when I would bring her back to Ottawa and I would come back to Toronto, she was like, well, you remember when you said if I wanted to ask permission, you might be okay with it? And I'm like, yeah. It's like, were you serious? And I'm like, and I thought about it for about 2 seconds. And I said, yeah, why? Do you have somebody in mind? She goes, no. I'm like, do you have somebody in mind? She's like, no. I'm like, do you have somebody in mind? She's like, maybe. And that's how our journey started.
So what made you to say that? That means you have some kind of sexual freedom in your mind. What made you say that? I bet not every husband can say that to the wife.
No, and you're right. It takes a certain personality to do it, I think. But the most important thing that it actually takes is good communication. It's the ability to have good, honest conversations with your partner and decide what works for you. Because how you start in a lifestyle is not how you will end. You will go through a journey of what you enjoy, what you like more, what you like less. You might try something and say, oh, that was fun, but let's not do that again. Or that was a lot of fun, let's do that again. So yes, it takes a certain personality. It more importantly takes communication, but there is something to be said about people who can separate sex from love and sex from fun, sex from emotions, and those who even in the lifestyle combine those things but are able to do that so that they can be open-minded to say, okay, maybe this might be for you, and you could try it and say this isn't, but for most who do, they end up quite enjoying it.
Yeah, you mentioned this communication, and oh my gosh, this is the point why I start doing this podcast and sex blog, because communication, it's a key for everything actually, but especially for sex. I believe the partners have to communicate about everything, not only about other partners and everything, but how do you like? Do you like this or do you like that? Do you want to try this? Do you want to try that? And you have to be very open-minded to do so. Lots of people afraid to talk. What do you think?
I think that almost everybody who comes here has something that they don't want to share with the rest of the world, with their partners, because they're like, oh, maybe that's too much, not ready yet. So yes, it's very much about communication. But when people ask me, like when men ask me, how do I get in the lifestyle? And my honest answer back in the day was, find someone you can really communicate with and then have that conversation instead of trying to find someone that's in the lifestyle. Because for me, I never would have thought in a million years that my wife would be into that. But it was the ability to bring it up in a way that wasn't threatening, in the way that it's like, hey, if you want to try this, I might be okay with it. And then it turns out that we did, she found someone, or she had someone in mind, went, had sex. And then I realized, and just like I said, I wasn't ready to admit that at first, but her going to have sex or having sex with other people is something that really turned me on. And so then I knew this was for me and this worked for me.
Okay. So let's go back to the story, how you get involved in Club M4 actually. It's an interesting story. Can you please share with us?
Yes. So when we were first moving, again, obviously to Toronto, we didn't really have any friends. I was actually living up north in the same house as my sister. We were just till we found our own place here. And the only, when we talked about swinging and she went out and had fun, I was like, well, there's got to be, we talked about, my wife is the one who actually found the clubs and say, oh, there's places where this is what they do and you can find partners there. Because for a guy to go online and say, oh, do you want to have sex with me? My wife's okay with it. Most women don't believe that, right? So she's the one who found kind of the clubs. And so we started going out. We would go out like every weekend because it was not only it was our social outing and it was our fun, it was our time away. We could have sex there because obviously in the same house as my sister, it was a little tougher. And so we saw this new club was going to open. I got tickets right away. And funny enough, we were heading here and this is before phone GPS, and I had entered the address wrong. I'd written the address wrong. I'd run is like 2318 instead of 2813 or 2814. And so we ended up somewhere lost. And I had to stop the car, call my best friend and say, hey, do you know where this place is? Like, can you look this up for me? And he looks it up and says, that looks kind of fun. I'm like, well, if you want, we could take you someday. And so then we drive back to the club. We drive to the right location. We get there and we were members 100 and 101, which means if you multiply by 2, because each member is a couple, 200 and 202. And then we went there that night and we loved it because there was food served, there was a dance floor, we could dance, we loved going out to dance. And if the mood struck, you could go and just have sex. You didn't have to go anywhere else because you have sex on site. Because back then most clubs were called off-premise. Off-premise meaning that there is no sexual activity on premise, whereas an on-premise club, there is sexual activity allowed on premise. So I met the owner and I was like, your club is great, but I think you need to do X, Y, and Z. He's like, okay, well, I wanted to paint the walls a different color and add a few things there. So that's how I started. I said, well,
Did he allow you to do so?
He did. Well, I also said I would do it for free. So
okay.
And then he came out and said, you know what, why don't you throw a party for your friends and call it YSS, which means the Young Swinger Society. So this was, October of 2008. And so we threw a YSS event, the first one on a Friday, and we had about 30 people. And back then, 5 people was a lot for a Friday. So we got about 30 people. So my business partner, to this day, said, okay, well, you're pretty good at this. I'm like, yeah, if you invite people to come out, they will come out. And he says, why don't you, start managing the bar, doing those things. And then a few months later, he asked me, would you like to partner up? And I said, yes, I would. And so we partnered up. And then lo and behold, about a year later, I actually ended up getting laid off from my corporate job.
What did you do before? What was your job?
So when I first started M4, I was a banker.
Okay.
And so I would work, my 9-to-5 job. And then I got recruited to be a call center manager for Staples, believe it or not.
Okay.
And this is 2008. And by 2009, there was the economic crash. Their biggest clients, they did promotional products, was, Chrysler and Ford and GM. And so they're, just down the drain, their revenue came. And so I ended up getting laid off. They had to make cuts and I was the last one to arrive, first one to go. And so I, had a call with my business partner. He says, well, why don't we try to make this club work? Why don't just, let's just do this. And so that's what I did.
Wow. So you came from the banker job to the co-owner of the swinger club,
Yes.
social club.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's a big change. And since then, what was the biggest challenge for you guys, like co-owners, to handle this club? I know you went through the COVID time when everything was locked, but also like what about the regulations or society? What was the challenges for you guys?
So it was odd because the challenges came in different times, different places, and for different reasons. I don't think that was the biggest challenge was actually, probably growing the business and learning how it worked and not coming just, my business partner has this outage saying, you can go and eat at a restaurant every day. That doesn't make you be good at owning a restaurant.
Yeah.
Going to a swinger club does not mean you're good at managing, running, and understanding the swinging business. But when we opened in 2008, the city of Toronto voted 35-2 to shut us down. And
what's the reason? Sorry.
Because, one of the counselors thought he would score political points because there was a club down the road that was closing at the same time as we were opening. And he thought, well, I'm going to capitalize. This club is closing. We're going to get this other club closed down, and we're going to find a way to get them done. So what they did is, believe it or not, on our first YSS event, they actually raided the club, and they came in with 15 police officers and bylaws and everybody.
Wow.
And they tried to find everything wrong they could to try to get us closed.
Seriously?
And yes. Wow. And then I'm the one who somehow ended up with most of the tickets because funny enough, they found an old ashtray underneath, and that was their big thing. Like, oh, here's a ticket for this, here's a ticket for that. And it was my name. And I think that's one of the things that helped cement me into ownership really is because I had to go to court. I went to court and none of them showed up. And by that time they realized they weren't really scoring any political points, and really we weren't doing anything wrong. And as a matter of fact, now I have the reverse of that story where our AGCO and bylaws have actually really helped us because they realize we're really trying to do everything we can to make sure people are safe, people are respectful, people aren't leaving here drinking and driving. We don't get any fights, we don't get any drunks. We don't get any violence. The cops are never called, or very, very rare occurrence. As a matter of fact, when we opened this new location 6 years ago, about 3 months in, they came and were raiding us again because they thought we had opened a nightclub. Mm-hmm. And now the nightclub bylaws to get is way harder. And it's very, very difficult, very strict rules. You have to have a certain amount you have to have metal detectors and security guards and all these things. And so they come in and the cop says, what are you doing here? I says, well, this is, on-premise club. Everything is legal. We're a private space. That's why this is legal. And well, this looks like a nightclub and you don't have your permits to be a nightclub. And I says, well, it's not a nightclub. It is an on-premise swingers club. And the person who's the AGCO, the Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario, goes, wait a minute, did you have the one on Lakeshore? I said, yes, I did. She said, oh, I remember you. And from that point on, that police officer went from very rude almost to incredibly nice. And I realized, that's not a nightclub. No, they're legitimate business. They got their permits. They checked everything. We did get it. But by that time, I'd gotten pretty good at understanding what permits you need, what licensing you do. It is a challenge, but it wasn't as much of a challenge as actually opening this new location was.
What was this new location? What was the challenge? What was before in this?
This was a banquet hall.
Oh, okay.
It was one big open space. We just added some dividers and to separate the space, but this was a banquet hall. What was the challenge? Everything was a challenge here. It was really an interesting, and I mean, that story is available on YouTube as well. Yeah. But the thing is, the things you don't think, because I probably went to look at 30 properties, and then you pick 2 or 3 that you say, okay, this could do, and then you put an offer, and the landlord says, yeah, we don't want you. And then, it doesn't matter what you offer them. Our old location, we were paying, 3 times the value of market rent, and they didn't want us anymore. They're like, we don't want this type of club here. So you really have to have someone who wants you and then is willing to accept that in their location. And then this was all kinds of other, because we got the space on March 1st for transgender and cross-dressers. And while that's not my sexual preference, the night is amazing to come and hang out because you get to see people really enjoying what they enjoyed. Now, it's not my sexual preference, but being here is a great time on Tuesday to see people having fun and exploring themselves and, being free.
So, Matt, tell me, what do you think people need to understand about sex? The one important thing, in your opinion?
Well, I don't think I'm qualified to answer that.
Oh, you are. I think you are closer to this topic than anyone else.
I think we've touched on, communication, being able to say, I like this, and being open-minded enough to try those things, and then learning together is a really fun process. And you have to be willing to do that. And I think that at the end of the day, people get so busy with everything else in their lives that sometimes they forget to make time for themselves. And I heard a really great analogy which sometimes people say, oh, well, we don't have time for sex or this, life gets in the way. He says, well, a lot of times, sometimes people say, hey, you want to go out this weekend? Want to go to a party? You're like, yeah, but then I'll have to get dressed up and I have to do this, I have to do that. But then you get dressed up, you go there and you get to the party and it's a great time. So I think it's important to remember that that is an important part of sex, that you not only communicate with your partner, but make yourself available, express yourself, and then you will never be the person where you start and where you end up in your life. You realize you'll have, oh, I didn't know I had that kink, right? Just like I said, it took me a long time to say that one of my biggest turn on is watching my spouse have fun. But there are lots of different things, because saying, oh, well, that means you're a cuck. Like, no, because a cuck means I'm sitting in the corner telling me I'm going to have your wife. There's nothing you can do about it, or you just watch. And I always joke, well, we're going to have a problem, because that's not how it works. To me, it's about her having fun, being a participant, watching her enjoy herself, and me enjoying that as well. And because if I just make it all about me, then it's not fun for her. If it's all about her, then it's not fun for me. Mm-hmm. But for others who have that, well, I want to be cucked and I want to be put in a corner and I can't do anything. Well, if that works for them, but the only way to know is to explore, make time for it, and make that space to have that open conversation.
And before we move to the next chapter, I think you agree with me, Matt. We are here not to promote this like divorce and cheating and something like this. We're here to promote the self-exploration, communication with your partner, and ability to talk things out and attend the places where you can safely explore your...
And so if you're going to ask me the question, what's the one thing you think people should know about the club, is it's exactly that. It is so much more than a lifestyle club or a swingers club. It is an open space for people to explore. And a good example of that is we have couples who come here and say, we love to dance and we have kids at home and we can't have sex. So they come here for just themselves to go in the area, to go in a private room, to have sex with each other, to be able to just be open. It's just like nudity is okay here, or you don't have to get nude. You can have sex or you can just watch. Maybe some people are voyeurs and they can do that. We create a space where it's safe for them to do so. Because if I like watching people have sex, and I go to the park and find someone who's having, there's a degree of danger, even criminality to some degree. Whereas here, all that is completely okay, as long as it is, again, our core 3 tenets are consent, respect, discretion. As long as you're within those core tenets and you can come use the equipment, learn how to spank, be watched, watch, participate. Really, the big misconception is that people come here and you think it's going to be a big orgy and a big free-for-all. Well, no, the number one thing is when everybody comes to the club, we give them a tour to explain them the rules. So for 2 reasons. 1, so they feel safe and comfortable and know how things work. And 2, if they do something, they know that we're here to intervene and they can't say, well, I didn't know. And the biggest thing is yes means yes, no means no, and anything else like maybe later, that still means no. People can ask, but as you are in this space, oh, that's not what we're looking for. Or you ask, oh, yes, absolutely, join us. And that's kind of what we create, is that safe, inviting space. and what you can do here is really limitless.
I like it. So let's move to the next chapter and talk about club. So Demet, we standing near this, I would say machine, or you say it's a cross?
It's a cross, a St. Andrew's cross.
St. Andrew cross.
Yes.
Okay. So I believe some sinful things happening here.
I don't think as sinful, because when you're not harming others, in reality, people have preached love and loving, thyself and thy neighbor. And I think that this is more about exploration and people wanting to have fun and explore the relationship. And if that promotes people being happy and better lives, I think at the end of the day, I don't see that as a sin at all.
Okay. And I see lots of different machines and different activities here. Tell me, please, what do you think people coming here for mostly? For relaxing, for validation, for healing, maybe, for freedom? What do you think?
I think people come here for sexuality.
Okay.
And I think that everything here can incorporate that if you want them to. But at the end of the day, I think you're right about the openness of this being here, about where you can explore your kinks or your sexuality or anything else that you want without being judged. So I think the number one thing is probably sexuality, but for the openness and also the environment, because it does create a community. Because the story that I told from going on opening night with friends, so the couple we came with is actually the godmother to my daughter now.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. So it's lots of different people here, different ages, different social status, yeah?
Yes.
So definitely.
Very diverse crowd.
Very diverse. So, and I know you guys throwing like 2 parties per day. Am I correct?
Correct, yes.
So tell us more about your schedule. Like if the people see this video and they never been here, can you tell them about this club?
Yeah, so basically we used to be open from 3 to 7 and then we'd close, clean, and reopen at 9 o'clock. But now we've realized that we can be open all day. People really want to come and use the space for whatever reason, whether it's to get away from the kids and have fun or meet others or come and have fun. So the space is open 7 days a week from 3 p.m. till 2 a.m. on weekdays and 3 p.m. till 3 a.m. on weekends. And then we have different events, say the afternoon parties, which is just the premise is kind of always the same. Come and explore the space, but sometimes there are themes. Like we do some buy events on Wednesdays. We even have things such as comedy nights and games night on Thursday nights. And then what we do is, if you're interested in something like the Tea Tuesday for cross-dressers, transgender men and women, you can say, I'm interested in that. I want to come explore that. Well, then the theme for that night is that. But the theme is really secondary to exploration as a whole on the club. But we have nights like Saturday nights where it's only couple and single women that can attend. So the women outnumber the men. Whereas Friday nights, single gentlemen are allowed to be in the club and in the play area. So then the men outnumber the women. And then we have every type of event that you might want to explore. And some of them have really quite interesting stories as to why they exist. So we do have all these different parties. Like one of the events I helped organize was the Ladies' Choice Gangbang event. And that came because a girl came to see me and says, I really want to have a gangbang, but I invited, 6 guys to come have fun. And I all vetted them and had fun. I thought I was going to have a great night. So out of the 6 guys, only 2 showed up. And out of the 2, only 1 could get hard. And it was just really, if I just wanted to have sex with my husband, I could have done that anytime. And it was, and I said, well, why don't we, I created this event where they could go out and distribute armbands to say, okay, here's your wristband. So they knew they had permission to play with say if it was green, then the girl who was distributing the green, and therefore made more men available. So because that was her fantasy, and we want to create a space where she could have that without, you're renting a hotel room, you're inviting strangers, no one's there to look after you, all those things. So we created some of these events specifically to fill some of those needs. And some of the other things like our games night is just because there is a lot of community and you make a lot of friends and it's just fun to go out, have a laugh and play a game and introduce yourself. And then sometimes you end up having sex and sometimes you go home happy without having sex.
Actually, speaking about fantasies, what's the most popular night, I would say, or maybe most popular fantasy people?
The busiest night does alternate between Fridays and Saturday nights, obviously. Currently Saturday nights, which is for couples, for other couples and single women. So single men aren't allowed. but we have just as equally busy Friday nights where single men can join and can participate. But the busiest night is the couples for couples Saturday night.
This is busiest because it's probably Saturday, the day when everybody is up to something and free.
That's tough to say because through our history, at first, when we first opened, our Saturdays were really, really busy and our Fridays had nothing because we would do Friday and Saturday couples only. And then about one of the things my business partner says, I really tried to make Friday's night work with, being couples only. And we couldn't get people out because people want to have other people there. So you either have to take people away from your other Saturday, bring it on Friday. And if you do that, then you have a really slow Saturday. And so when we opened it up to single guys, then all of a sudden for a long time, our Fridays were much busier than our Saturdays. We got really busy. And then post-COVID, then it flipped again. So now our Saturdays so we do have between those two nights, I don't think that Saturday is any better than Friday. And I think that most clubs everywhere we go, kind of in North America, where it's the couples only standard is Saturday night and the single men is on Friday. But there's some clubs who do the reverse. And I don't know that one is better than other for any particular reason. It just sometimes the theme can really affect that.
Okay, one very important topic I would like to touch. I spoke with many people, and the biggest concern about to go to sex club for them, it's not even consent or something, like hygiene, I want to touch that topic because I heard some people say, oh, I don't want to go to the sex club, it's kind of like lots of people, you don't know what you can get there. I would like to ask you how you maintain this cleanliness and hygiene, how people can feel safe and protected.
So the first thing you gotta remember is the club is owned and operated by swingers, people who have been in the lifestyle, who have learned to do those things. So when you come and notice like the wonderful chairs we were sitting on, at first we used to have the mattresses with drapes, the sheets on them, sorry. My French is showing. Okay. And then we'd have to wash them and wash them and wash them. And then we realized, as at some point pointed out, that if you do vinyl, and as a matter of fact, we use marine grade vinyl, stuff you use on boats, so that there's no penetration of the water, there's no seepage, all those things. And we have a full-time cleaner at all times. We clean through the night. We provide towels, so you can just put the towel down. And obviously our towels get bleached and washed. As a matter of fact, one of our biggest expense is actually our laundry bill, as we do get our towels taken out and done commercially and with bleach to make sure that it kills everything. But in the reality, you rent a hotel room. Do you know they change the sheets before? Do you know that they wash the sheets? Here you can watch us clean. We have cleaning stations throughout the club as well, so you can do it yourself. But in most cases, if you can come, hey, can you, and we will do it. Are we perfect? No, absolutely not. But I don't think anywhere in the world, in any situation, can you have perfection. And I think that we really try because we're swinger ourselves. Like if I'm like, hey, I wouldn't want to have sex on that, then that's not good enough for the club.
Okay. And you obviously guys have all that protection, condoms and everything here around. Yeah.
Condoms, towels, lockers are all provided free of charge. Now, there are some exceptions. If you have a latex allergy, do bring your own because they can. We do have some, but they're much harder to get. If you have need a bigger size, you can bring your own. If you have a preference because how they feel, you can do that. But we do provide condoms, obviously free of charge, and they're in little caddies like that everywhere around the club. So they are everywhere so that they can easily be reached and put on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the last question, maybe not. It's Christmas season coming and the New Year, and you guys probably getting in something like a Christmas party or something. What we can expect? So now you have a chance to promote this and invite people to join you.
Well, for us, we have New Year's is a really big event. People like to go out and dress up and come in and have fun. But we actually offer a special, because our New Year's is $160 per couples. It's couples and single women only. But we actually offer a VIP membership. Currently, the current price, and I'm sure it would fluctuate over the years, but it's $349. So you can buy New Year's, or for just a little bit more money, for $349, you can come all year at no cost. So we do, and so people, and that's one of the reasons that brought us to this club. You pay once, and then you can just come and have fun, and you bring your friends, and you create community, and come here. So for us, going into December, one of the big things is we push our VIP passes for those couples, so then you can enjoy the club anytime. You're driving by after a hockey game, stop in, have a drink, have a little sex, have a little fun. If you just want to come socialize, you can do that. And I think that's what makes us super successful, is to create lots of people who just come and enjoy the space, no matter the reason, and we make that really affordable.
Okay, and Matt, would you like to say something else? Maybe I forgot to ask you something. Is anything you want to share?
The one thing I want to share is people are worried when they come here thinking it's going to be a free-for-all, and it really isn't. When you come here, you're going to meet people who look just like you, no matter what you look like. And because clubs are always a little bit of a reflection of their owners, and we've realized that we want to make someone who could be, young and beautiful feel as welcome as someone who is old and overweight, or the reverse, so that you can come here and express yourself. Now, sometimes people I want only this or only that. What we want to do is we want to make everybody feel welcome. So that means that some people it won't be for them, but for most people, everybody can come here, have a good time, no matter what you look like, what age you are, or what you're looking for. And it isn't a free-for-all. We give everybody a tour to give them the rules so that we can make people feel safe and welcome. And if they want to have fun, they can.
Okay, so guys, have fun and join the M4 club and put the like. Please, many likes for this video and subscribe. Have fun.